There are style rules that most women over 60 follow. Rules about hemlines and necklines, and how much of yourself you're still allowed to show. Rules about color, about fit, about what's appropriate and what you've supposedly aged out of. And the thing about these rules is nobody can tell you exactly who made them, but somehow every woman over 60 knows them by heart. So here's what I want you to think about. How many of those rules have actually made you feel more confident? How many times have you stood in front of your closet, reached for the safe option, the appropriate option, and walked out the door feeling less like yourself than when you started? We keep following the playbook because we think it's protecting us. But what if it's doing the opposite? What if the rules aren't keeping us elegant, they're keeping us invisible? Because the women who actually command attention after 60 aren't following a single one of them. Linda Wright has been breaking them for decades. 77, silver-haired, almost no makeup, running her cashmere boutique in the heart of Paris with the kind of quiet authority that makes every rule feel irrelevant. And the last one she breaks, the one that goes deeper than clothing, honestly made me rethink everything I thought I knew about what style actually is. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Parker Holloway, and today we're taking apart the style rules women over 60 are expected to follow and looking at why one woman's refusal to follow any of them might be the most powerful style lesson we've ever covered on this channel. So let's get into it. Number 1 is she wears essentially the same outfit every single day and makes absolutely no apologies for it. This is the first rule Linda throws out because most women over 60 hear that they need to mix things up. You're supposed to have a different outfit for every event. You should keep your look fresh and unpredictable. You ought to cycle through your wardrobe so no one thinks you only have a few pieces. Linda disregards every bit of that advice. Her daily uniform centers on jeans, a stunning cashmere knit or a basic tee, a silk or cashmere scarf, and a beautiful pair of shoes. That is her anchor, and she builds on it almost every single day. But here's the detail that makes her approach actually brilliant, and it is the part that most people overlook. Every item in her rotation is made to an extraordinary standard. She is not reaching for cheap, throwaway basics. She is choosing pieces with deep care, items that sit on her body just right and feel wonderful against her skin. She sources her own cashmere from a Scottish mill for her boutique Crimson Cashmere, and the standard she demands from her shop is the identical standard she holds for her personal wardrobe. The truth is, most of us own closets packed with things we somewhat like, but almost nothing we genuinely adore. Linda turned that on its head. She keeps fewer pieces, but every one of them justifies being there. I find something deeply freeing about that way of living. Instead of hovering in front of your wardrobe each morning, stuck in indecision, the answer is already waiting for you. And this does not mean you have to settle for a dull wardrobe or never bring something fresh home. It just means you quit hoarding things that do not actually feel like who you are. If you're the kind of woman who opens a full closet and somehow still feels lost, this could be the perspective that unlocks everything. Begin by noticing the 3 or 4 items you always reach for first and figure out what connects them. That's your uniform speaking to you. And if that thought sticks with you, just wait, because what she believes about buying clothes connects to something much larger about how we see ourselves as we age. Number 2 is she dresses like a tomboy, and it happens to be the most refined thing you have ever laid eyes on. This is such a striking contradiction, and it is the second rule she dismantles. Women over 60 are relentlessly told to aim for polish, for a finished look, for traditional femininity, structured dresses, sharp jackets, heels, no matter what. And none of that is wrong if it genuinely lights you up from the inside. But Linda moved in a completely opposite direction. She has described her own style as that of an elegant tomboy, and once you see it on her, it all makes immediate sense. She wears straight-leg jeans almost daily, not the skinny kind, not stretch fabric, but true straight-leg cuts that drape cleanly and flow with her body. She occasionally wears men's shirts because the shoulder fit feels better on her frame. She blends vintage finds with newer pieces, like a 20-year-old bespoke velvet jacket from Savile Row, combined with embroidered Turkish slippers and a cashmere scarf. Absolutely nothing about the look feels forced. What is worth understanding here is that most women are hesitant to dress this casually once they reach a certain age because they equate relaxed with unkempt. Linda demolishes that idea completely. Relaxed can be the most sophisticated energy in any room if the pieces have integrity and the woman wearing them carries herself with conviction. And if you are someone who has always felt more at home in trousers and flat shoes than in dresses and heels, I really need you to take this in. That is not compromising. That is having a point of view. Claim it the way Linda claims hers. And if wearing jeans and cashmere to a dinner makes you second-guess yourself, consider that Linda has lived exactly that way in one of the most fashion-aware cities on Earth for nearly 5 decades, and not once has anyone accused her of showing up underdressed. Now, both things I have talked about so far, the daily uniform and the tomboy refinement, those are choices you can observe from the outside. But rules 3 and 4 cut to something much more personal. These are the insights it took Linda decades to uncover, and they are the reason her style has only deepened over time. So stay with me here. Number 3 is she lets accessories be the only element that shifts. This is such an intelligent approach, and I think it is one of the most useful things you can borrow from how Linda lives. While her base look stays nearly unchanged from day to day, the way she layers on accessories rewrites the whole story. A silk scarf in a bold graphic pattern utterly transforms the feeling of a plain navy sweater and jeans. A pair of striking earrings, something she is well known for wearing consistently, brings in personality without introducing any clutter. A gorgeous leather bag or a cashmere poncho from her shop thrown over a simple tee gives a completely new mood compared to what she wore the day before. And this is the point where Linda shatters the third rule, because most women over 60 are told their accessories should be subtle and quiet. Petite studs, a thin chain, nothing that calls attention. Linda takes the exact opposite stance. She keeps her garments understated and hands all the expression to her accessories. The scarf, above everything else, is her signature piece. She ties them in a dozen different ways, she matches them to her knitwear, and she relies on them to inject color and pattern into a palette that would otherwise stay completely neutral. What I find so exciting about this is it proves you do not need 20 separate outfits to feel like you have variety. You need a reliable foundation and 3 or 4 accessories you can cycle through based on your energy that day. It's the kind of idea that sounds deceptively simple, yet the moment you test it, you discover how much space it opens up. And that feeling of space leads us directly to the most powerful lesson Linda has to offer, which is up next. And finally, number 4. This is the one I brought up at the very start, and it is the lesson that honestly rewired the way I think about getting dressed altogether. Number 4 is she buys for the woman she actually is, not the woman the fashion industry pressures her to become. Linda has said something that really planted itself in my thinking. She talks about how her approach to buying clothes evolved as she grew older. She lost any interest in purchasing something that would only bring her satisfaction for a single season. Instead, she began buying for what she calls evolution, not revolution. And that idea is so striking because it puts language around something most of us silently struggle with. There is real pressure, especially for women over 60, to either keep chasing every trend so people know you are still in the game, or to give up altogether and retreat into what feels safe and invisible. Linda chose neither path. She chose to keep evolving, but completely on her own terms. She still pays attention to what is moving in fashion. She still finds new pieces that light her up, but she only brings in things that feel like a true continuation of who she already is. Not a costume, not a mask, not a bid to look younger or more current, just a deeper and more focused expression of who she has become. And I think that is exactly what makes her so magnetic. When you see Linda making her way down a Paris street in her jeans and her cashmere and her perfectly wrapped scarf, You are not watching someone performing for an audience. You are watching a woman who figured out who she was a long time ago and committed to dressing that identity every single day. That is not vanity. That is knowing yourself. And I think every single woman deserves access to that feeling. Whether you are stepping into a gallery opening or just picking up groceries on a Saturday morning, the question was never, what is someone my age expected to wear? The question is, what makes me feel like the most authentic version of who I am? Linda solved that at 77, and she makes the whole thing look absolutely effortless. That woman who gets dressed in 5 minutes and carries more elegance than everyone around her, she is not wearing more than you, she is not outspending you. She just decided a long time ago to walk away from rules that were never written with her in mind, and to dress instead for the life she actually leads. She packed her boots and flew to Paris in 1978, thinking she would stay 3 months, and almost 50 years later, she is still there, still in her jeans and her cashmere, still proving that the most stylish woman in any room is the one who knows precisely what to leave out. So my question for you is this: what is one rule you have been following that never truly felt like yours? And if Linda Wright's approach to breaking the rules with elegance and intention resonated with you, you are definitely going to want to catch next week's video, because I am profiling a woman whose entire philosophy around color will challenge everything you thought you understood about getting dressed after 60. Alright everyone, that is everything I have for Linda Wright and the 4 style rules she refuses to follow. I hope this left you feeling encouraged and maybe even a little motivated to rethink how you approach your own closet. If it did, make sure you give this a thumbs up and subscribe so you do not miss what is coming next. I would love to hear from you in the comments. What is the one go-to piece you keep reaching for season after season? The thing that always makes you feel most like yourself? Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Parker Holloway Style. Thank you all so much for spending this time with me, and I will see you in the next one.